In Bulgarian history, there were multiple cases when someone was mentioned only once, that not being a problem for some, because they didn't have big impacts on events or being solved with a forest of questions. But there are cases when there is a knot of questions, one of them being Avitohol, name meaning unknown, origin unknown, life unknown. When the Dulu dynasty was created is unknown, but the founder of the dynasty is known as Avitohol from the anomaly of the Bulgarian Khans, being first to be mentioned. Avitohol is literally read emu du, aletemu divon tivriem. Avitohol's name has three translations, being Turkic, Persian and Toharian. The Turkic translation goes by the descendant of the father, while the Persian translates to the son of the road year. And for Toharian translation it's the father Toho. Those translations lead us to unique information. In the 20th century, the Lithuanian Chronicle has been discovered. The document contains information about Russia, Lithuania and mishmash of random information. One sentence is mentioning Bulgaria. Тъжка мизиоско княза обо Bulgarskoje, от Еленци било в Кармемелену. This sentence is mentioning a Bulgarian museum that was fed by a roe deer. And Properus of Sazare, an important author who documented all of the action of the ancient Bulgarians. And he writes how a roe deer helped a lost child. The information from the Lithuanian Chronicle and Properus of Sazare recordings can be applied, they are talking about the same thing. Although why is the Lithuanian Chronicle mentioning a Bulgarian museum? Well, with the creation of Danube, Bulgaria, Byzantine authors tried to call Bulgarians Museans. The earliest known work to mention Bulgarians as Musean is from Leo the Deacon, and this trend continues on to the 15th century. But the Turkic translation of Avitohol is leading us to more detailed events. Events related to the ancient Bulgarians of Caucasus Mountain and Europe. The ancient Bulgarians can solely be said that they lived in the Caucasus Mountain range. I'm using lived because the ancient Bulgarians aren't native to this land. The relation between the ancient Bulgarians and the islands were unique, hate and likeness was a common thing. Etudius of Telenokia, in his work commentary on Homer, writes the following. The Uni or Tuni with a letter theta are Caspian people from the tribe of the Scythians. One must follow those who write Uni without theta. Both the mentioned Uni, a Scythian tribe, and the Caspians, leaving behind them are very remarkable people. Their lives the pastoral and not the particularly warlike people of the Albanians, but into the land of the Iberians and the Caspian Sea. The reading Uni in Dionysus is restored a record to the text of Etudius. In some anonymous written after Ptolemy, Scholia to the earth description of Dionysus describes the following about the Huns. Throughout the Cimmerian Bosphorus, since the Cimmerians living around the Iters are nearby where it is Tyrus, it is the Iters that separate Asia from Europe. The Cimmerians are called numerous in the proper sense of the word. None of the island, according to Ptolemy, Alans, Hannibians, and Huns live. Yusuf Jafarov in the work Huns and Azerbaijanis. He poked the test of Etudius of Telenokia and localized the text to be taken event around the 60s of the 1st century after Christ. But this is impossible to have the Huns in European land before crossing the Volga River in 370. So this is some kind of paradox. However, bear with me. Moses Koronatsi makes a really important mark for Bulgarian history and history of Armenia. Despairing the western multitudes, he, King Valashak, descended into the rich grass area near the border of Sharai, called Woods and Upper Basin, but the ancient people, which later due to the migration of Vlangedur of Vund, the Bulgar, who settled in these lands, was called after his name, Vanat, and the names of the villages, which were given after the names of his brothers and descendants, have remained to this day. In his days of Arshak, there had been great turmoil in the chain of the great mountain of Caucasus, in the country of the Bulgars, and many of them, after moved away, came to our country and lived for a long time under the cow, a fertile land abundant in breed. Here ends the works of Elder Mar Abbas Katina. An important fact is that the ancient Bulgarians want that the migrators may have happened 186 or 187. But what could have made the great turmoil in the country of the ancient Bulgarians? Probably a tribal dispute. The ancient Bulgarian tribes were three, and a fourth tribe that played as more of a social touch interaction. The Utigurs, the Kutigurs, the Onogudurs, and the Onogurs. Although only two of the tribes were actually Bulgarian. The Onogurs were pure Turkic tribe and the Onogudurs were part Turkic. But the tribes' names are modern to say. In Azeruch it shows four ancient Bulgarian tribes, Kupi Bulkar, Ohundor Bulkar, Duchi Bulkar, and Chedar Bulkar. The Ohundor Bulkar tribe, their name is part Turkic. Dor is suffix native for Turkic and outly languages. Etudius of Telenokia mentions how Huns are Caspian, well those Huns were Ohundor Bulkars. I'm not saying the tribe was Turkic, but ancient Bulgarian tribe was ruled by Turkic people. That could explain why Avitohol has a Turkic meaning. He didn't live 300 years, but his unnamed descendants combined could be rounded up to 300 years. That's why his name means descendant of the father. Furthermore, we know some of their actions. With the Huns coming in European land, they attacked the islands while the fight was happening. The Ohundo Bulgars joined the Huns. This Ohundo Hun alliance put the so-called Avitohol of Dulu to root the Ohundo Bulgar tribe and in later centuries of the other ancient Bulgarian tribes. The alliance would continue on a bit after the death of Attila. From Roman sources can be seen that the relation between the Huns and the Ohundo Bulgars were getting better with time. Paul the Deacon writes the following about the Huns. At that time, the Huns tribe, for a long time separated from Impossible Mountains, was seized suddenly with fury, attacked the gods, and having upset them, expelled them from their old settlements. Jordan and Landolf Sagakis writes more detailed information on the Huns in those Impossible Mountains. Landolf Sagakis writes the following. At the time, the Huns closed for a long time in Impossible Mountain. They interbred with them, and thus carried this most valorous tribe, at the first dwelt in the midst of the Meteot Marsh. The mountain that the text refers is the Kakas mountain. The Huns and the Ohundo Bulgars lived together as can be judged by the interbred with them. From this moment of the Huns going to more Central Europe, the Ohundo Bulgars joined them. Although the Huns' actions are well documented, unlike the Ohundo Bulgars in Europe. But there is a reason for it, and a really simple one. The Greek and Latin sources, at the time they were written off as Huns because they didn't know how they were called. And there were cases where the ancient Bulgarian tribes were called different from Huns, like Goths and Scythians. As for the Tocharian information, first I need to introduce you to the letter to Haznit Im Shaprut from the Khazar Kagan Joseph. In the letter, Joseph mentions the origins of the Khazars. No, we came from the son of Japhet, him being Tograma. He had 10 children, the first one being Agior, Tyrus, Avar, Ugeu, Pitz, Trana, Khazar, Zur, Bogadar, and Sabir, with the son from the Khazar, the seventh son of Tograma. And a different translation of Bogadar is translated as Bogapur. This letter is not the only one to mention the sons of Togama. In Josipon are written as Koza, Peznia, Kalan, Bulgar, Kambina, Turk, Buz, Zahuk, Tomas. All of them lived north and the denominations of their countries came from their names. They lived on the lakes Itiv, Sam, Bulgar, Pezniak, and on Big Lake Danube too. In the Chronicle of Jeremel ben Solomon are written almost the same way. Kuzar, Pesniak, Kalan, Bulgar, Kabinach, Turk, Bus, Zahuk, Ugar, Tumes. A notable mention is that Shechar Hya Hashar mentions them in the Book of Righteousness as following: Buzar, Pazrunak, Bulgar, Elikunak, Ragbit, Tarki, Bit, Zebuk, Ongal, Tilmas. The person Torgama is a character from the Bible, who represents the people of Anatolia, more specifically the Caspian people, although the mentioned sons aren't his first. His real first sons are Movakan, Bardos, Kartvos, Hauk, Targamos, Lekos, Heros, Kaukas, Egros. As you can see, the problem with the first actual sons of Tomarha and in the letter from Kagan Joseph, they aren't the same. There are a few possible explanations. First being a late adaptation from the Khazars and the ancient Bulgarians that came upon Christian land and Judaism. The second one being tied to the origins of the Khazars and the ancient Bulgarians. Mihail the Syrian, a Syrian patriarch, who in his chronicle mentions where the ancient Bulgarians and the Khazars came from. At the time, the three brothers from Inner Scythia, leading with themselves 3,000 Scythians, passed the road that took 65 days from the mountain Iman. One of the brothers, called Bulgarius, took 10,000 people and departs from his two older brothers. The geographical localization of the mountain Imeon. None to be found because it's not a mountain but a mountain range that connects the mountains of Hindu Kush, Pamir, Tian Shan and a lesser mountain, Mutsa Ata, or known as Tangarma. In the region, one of the languages that was spoken was Tocharian. Asi are native to the Tarim base where it was spoken Tocharian. Bulgarian and Tocharian have linguistic similarities. In apocryphal accounts, Kazani Danayovo is written, his name is Mihail, he will rise from the sunny city. And in the Chitala inscription is noted the camp of Pliska. You see, sunny city and Pliska are the same thing. The difference is that in Skazania Danayovu, Pliska is written as sunny city because that's what Pliska means. It comes from Tocharian, Plaskam, Plak, visible, bright, and those came from Pre-Tocharian, Pauk, shining, fury, bright, visible. And there are other words similar to Tocharian, as the likes of Vikam, Bashtag, Gulam, Epat, Zipam, and others. With all of this information about Torgama, it can be assumed Torgama is really distant memory of a forming identity, and the memory of Avitohol is referring to a place where Taichi Bulgarians have some special value, it being where they came from or something else. That's why Avitohol from Toharian is translated as Father Tohu, Ave meaning grandpa or ancestor. Noted this in Mutterfara cave complex where Jesus Christ is written together with the word Ufu meaning father. In Bulgarian grammar there are cases where is written but is pronounced as A and the opposite. And if Ufu is pronounced as Ava, it can be traced back to Toharian Ave. Toho being the name Togarma, which the modern Bulgarian versions are Toko, Takao, Toho. So as I said, Avitohol and Togarma are distant past memory. That was introduced by Toharian spoken people. I'm not saying that the ancient Bulgarians introduced Togarma, but some people who spoke the language. And those people could be Gutians, who lived in Mesopotamia. Were first mentioned by a text in Old Babylonian that described them as a tribute to people who helped Lugal ane Mundu of Adab, which the text is taking place in 25th century before Christ. The Gutian origin is not sure. Walter Bruno Henning, who claims that the Gutians came from the Tarim basin. He points out the phonological similarities of the name Guti to Kutsi, an item associated with the Toharian city of Kucha. He made that link from phonological thinking. I'm aware it's extremely far short to make a connection, but this is one of two that can explain the connection between Tagrama and Togarma. Second being it was introduced by Hurarians. The Huro-Urartian language have some interesting closeness to Toharian, thus being the second connection between Tagrama and Togarma. Once again a far shot link, but less far shot. The lifespan of Avitohol is unnatural, no way he lived 300 years as written in the Anomalia, so I think those should be understood as 300 years of living in the mountain Taharma. And any years of localization shouldn't be made. As you can see, I had to pull a bit of output to make the links. This video quite well can be remade in the future if any or crucial information has been unfolded. Please, if you have any critiques towards the information or you can add up something, do write it into the comment section.